Oh, Rick K. So here we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and KGRADB Radio. We're also, of course, live on our friends there on TikTok. Getting ready to say hello to all of our friends there on Spreaker. So now we're live on all of our formats, and here we go. It is Friday. Let me open my Facebook page up so that everybody can, on my Facebook, join. I don't know why. It keeps changing, and I don't know why. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So there we go. Now it is officially done, and it's open up to everyone. Hello, hello, and howdy. Welcome. Okay, a couple of things, and then we're going to get to the presentation, and I hope that you're going to enjoy it. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of fun tonight. I'm Bishop James Long, and I appreciate you being here. So there's a couple things that I want you to do. First of all, there is our sponsors. We are on KGRADB radio. So I want you to go to this website, everybody. Okay, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. KGRADB.com. Now, they have some really amazing paranormal shows there. And yep, I am one of them. I'm honored to be a part of the KGRADB family. And if you put Bishop as your promo code, you're going to get 30% off your subscription. Now, I don't receive any financial kickback for that at all. I obviously promote it because KGRADB sponsors the shows. They sponsor the paranormal shows. They sponsor the Bible studies, the Saturday shows. It's obviously the respectful thing to do. So do me a favor. Say thank you to KGRADB Radio by subscribing. But make sure, again, put Bishop as your promo code. It's already inexpensive, but they have some pretty cool shows. Really, really cool shows there. Also, if you want to go to my website, it's very simple, bishopjameslong.com. bishopjameslong, LONG.com. Now, a couple things. I do have things available on the store that is available now. The Benedictine bracelets. I have that, which, of course, I love. Of course, the Benedictine bracelets. I'm a Benedictine. And then we have a Benedictine necklace. So I have mine. This is mine. This is the one that I have. And this is the back. And this is the front. So if you would like to pick that up, you can certainly do so. Just click on the store link. And also now, a lot of people always ask about the church. Okay, so instead of answering the question a million times, the website is usocc.org. That's it, usocc.org. That's the name of the church community that I belong to. So if you want to know about the church, well, then just go there. All the information is there for you. And there we go. Okay, so that's all the fun-filled, exciting news, promotion things that we have to do, obviously, before we jump into the presentation. Hopefully, well, thank you very much, Em. Hopefully, you are all having a very, very good Friday. Now, I know a lot of you are stressed out right now because of the world news. We're not talking about world news here. That's not going to happen. There's a lot of other formats right now that you can go on, all kinds of formats. They're just scaring the heck out of everybody that the end of the world's happening. World War III. We're not doing that here. We're just not. This is not what we're doing. So it's just not something that we're doing. So hopefully that, again, it's not because we don't have. I have an opinion, but look, this is Friday. Let's relax. Let's get away from all the stress and anxieties, right? We have to. We really have to. And hello, Michigan, and hello to all you fantastic folks here tonight. Tonight's show is going to be pretty cool. Mark is asking, how can I get objects blessed? You can actually send them to my P.O. Box, Mark. The only thing that I ask people that they do is they pay for the return shipping. Because I got a lot of people send items to me on the P.O. Box, and it gets quite expensive to ship the items back to them. I have no problem doing it. I don't know. I don't have an issue at all. I'd be happy to do it. But you have to do that. Just send it to my P.O. Box, and I'll be happy to. Well, thank you. I'll be happy to bless any items that you guys have. Now, I will not bless Ouija boards, any type of occult item. So please don't send those to me and expecting me to bless them, because I'm not going to endorse that. Again, I don't judge people, but that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Anyway, Just want to have to let it. Someone sent me a Ouija board, and they wanted me to bless it so that they can do a seance. Like, what are you thinking? No, I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. So no, don't use a Ouija board. I don't for anything. Period. So it just okay. So that is what I know. Now, listen, you'd be surprised what people send in the mail. It's kind of very, very interesting. All right, tonight's topic. Oh, thank you very much, Christina. Thank you. We're going to talk about horror movies that are based on real life events. And so this is going to be one of those things that it's going to be very interesting. Now, for those of you on TikTok, here's what we're doing. For the first hour, I am going to make this subscriber only chat for the first hour. The second hour, I'll open it up to everybody. Okay. But people who subscribe to the channel, if they have questions, it's easier for me to see it and answer their questions, and they're subscribing to the channel, which I appreciate. So I'm going to do that now. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will open it up to everybody so that if you have any questions related to the paranormal or demonology or theology, I'll be happy to answer it. Okay? So there we go. All right. Before we get into this, the meat and potatoes of the story, I want to share this with you that I saw that some of you may not know. But this is by T.K. Randall. There are 3 notoriously cursed horror movies. 3 notoriously cursed horror movies. Okay, so let's get into this. Some of the world's most notoriously creepy movies continue to disturb and intrigue long after the credits rolled. Sometimes the most disturbing things about a movie happen off screen rather than on camera. For example, the movie Poltergeist 1, 2, and 3 from 1982 to 1988, directed by Tobe Hooper and produced by Steven Spielberg. The original Poltergeist told the terrifying tale of a family who became besieged by a malicious haunting that culminated in their youngest daughter being pulled through a portal to the other side. Well, you may not know this, but tragedy would notoriously follow the cast and crew. However, with Dominique Dunne, who played Dana, being unalived by her abusive ex-boyfriend, and Julian Beck, who played Cain, she passed of stomach cancer. Will Sampson, who played Taylor, passed from surgery complications, and perhaps most tragically of all, the film's series' young protagonist, Heather O'Rourke, passed away from septic shock. That is insanity. That truly is. When I read that, I thought, okay, I've got to share that with you guys. Another, of course, movie that is notoriously known to be cursed. Yep, most of you probably guessed it. The Exorcist, the original 1973. When it was released, the original Exorcist was so terrifying that some unsuspecting cinemagoers ended up passing out in the theater. And things didn't go much better behind the cameras either. See, when shooting began in 1972, a fire tore through the set of Regan McNeil's home, causing extensive damage. And in a peculiar twist, the room used for the actual exorcism scenes escaped unscathed. And actors Jack McGoran and Vasiliki Malraux, both died shortly after filming had wrapped, with both Linda Blair and Max von Sydow suffered the loss of close family members during shooting. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Debbie. Thank you. And Jason Miller's son nearly passed away in a motorcycle accident, and several actors were injured on set. And of course, this is even the story of lightning striking a church opposite the cinema where the film was actually showing. The other film, the third film that is actually notoriously allegedly to be cursed, is The Omen, the 1976 version. Another supernatural horror classic, The Omen, followed the story of Damien, a seemingly innocuous young boy who just happened to be the son of Satan himself. That's all. Well, a mere 2 months before filming started, the son of actor Gregory Peck unalived himself. I have to say it that way, otherwise you get booted out and banned. And then when Peck was flying to London in September, his plane was struck by lightning. And the same thing happened to executive producer Mike Newfield a few weeks later. And then producer Harvey Bernhard narrowly avoided being struck by lightning while filming in Rome. Now, this is insanity. He says here, the devil was at work and he didn't want that film made, he said. An animal handler who worked on the crazy baboon scene was actually mauled by a tiger shortly after filming Wrapped and on Friday the 13th. Special effects artist John Richardson was involved in a car accident. And while he escaped with his life, his passenger, assistant Liz Moore, was beheaded in a manner very similar to a scene in the movie that Richardson himself had worked on. This is insane. And to cap it all off, a plane that was chartered by the film before being switched at the last minute went down a short time after taking off, resulting in the passing away of everyone on board. When I read this, I thought, okay, I've got to pass this on to you guys. So yeah, this is crazy. That is cray cray. So that is crazy. So tonight we're going to talk about stories, movies that are horror movies that are loosely based, and some that are not so loosely based on real life events. And I think that's what makes this show very interesting and perhaps maybe even frightening, because when we think about movies, we want to escape the craziness of the world. And whether you're a horror movie or horror movie fanatic or not, you just, especially this time of year, you want to be scared. But when you actually learn a little bit about these movies and you find out that these movies are based on real life events, it gives you, I think, a different perspective. So today's presentation is scary movies based on real stories. And so we're going to delve into the intriguing world of horror cinema and explore films that draw inspiration from true events, from spine-chilling tales of paranormal encounters to horrifying crimes that shock the entire world. And these movies provide us with a unique blend of fear and even, for some people, fascination. And some people become obsessed with them. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's begin our journey into the realm of real life horror. The popularity of scary movies and our fascination with the macabre, the real stories serve as a source of inspiration for filmmakers looking to create intense and terrifying experiences, no doubt about that. And movies that are based on haunted houses and supernatural phenomena, like we know about the Amityville Horror. We know about the Conjuring series, which draw from real life paranormal investigations. And the true stories behind these movies and the alleged encounters with spirits and demons, I think, are certainly what nightmares are made of for many people. And perhaps when you see this on the screen, yes, Hollywood has a way of amplifying it a little bit too much sometimes, such as The Pope's Exorcist. Thank you. Such as The Pope's Exorcist. I thought the end was terrible. The beginning and the middle was great. The end was horrible. We're going to talk also about tonight films that were inspired by notorious serial killers and psychopathic criminals. We're going to obviously we'll discuss movies like Psycho and The Silence of the Lambs that are loosely based on real life murders. We're going to discuss also the psychology behind these characters and the chilling impact that they have on audiences. Also, true crime is huge. And the popularity of true crime stories and their adaptation into movies has gotten into a multi-billion-dollar industry, like the movie Zodiac and Monster, which both are very intense movies. They depict real crimes and their investigations. And of course, Gacy, that was the character, the actor who portrayed Gacy was just unbelievably creepy. And the ethical consideration when portraying real life tragedies on the big screen. And Dahmer, yeah, and of course the new Netflix series Dahmer, which, by the way, from my understanding, I read an article, they are going to have a season 2 on Dahmer. As a matter of fact, I think they're working on it now. And we're going to discuss movies that draw inspiration from supernatural beliefs and even folklore, like The Exorcism, that many people believe, and I believe is true, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Of course, The Blair Witch Project, that has roots in true stories and urban legends. And the cultural significance of these tales and their impact on popular culture is insane. And a lot of people like psychological horror movies. And so we're going to delve into the depths of the human mind and its terrifying potential. Like, for example, the movie The Black Swan and The Babadook, which explores psychological trauma and mental disorders, and how real life experiences and psychological studies influence the creation of these narratives. Yeah, you're right. The Silence of the Lambs is based off a few serial killers, and especially Ted Bundy, and how he used to pretend he was hurt with a cast to get young. That's right. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, that's what Ted Bundy used to do. In the movie The Silence of the Lambs, do you remember that scene where the gentleman was trying to get to, the killer was trying to get the couch into the back of the van, and he had a cast on and he was struggling, and the daughter of, I think, the senator was coming home, and she saw him, and he, oh, can you help me? Can you help me? And she got, and can you just put it in the van? Can you help me? And that was it. That was it. So Ted Bundy used to do that. That is just, we're going to also talk about these movies on how it affects society and the genre as a whole, and the controversies surrounding the exploitation, because we do have to discuss this, the exploitation of real life tragedies for entertainment purposes. And do the filmmakers have any responsibility in portraying sensitive subject matter, and should they not do this? And so I don't know. We'll discuss that, and I'll be curious to see what you guys think. You know what makes these movies even more captivating is when they're based on real stories. If you're watching a horror movie and you're thinking, okay, Michael Myers, okay, comes back alive and puts in he puts on fire, and his eyes are, come on, Halloween 2. It's like, okay, really, seriously, we understand that. But the story that that the events we are witnessing on screen actually happened, or they were inspired by true events. So that adds a layer of fear and intrigue. It blurs the lines, I think, between fiction and reality, leaving us wondering if these terrifying tales could actually happen to you. Could they happen to me? Today, we're going to jump into a journey into the realm of the real life horror. And we're going to explore movies that draw inspiration from a variety of sources, from paranormal encounters and haunted houses to the chilling crimes committed by serial killers and psychopaths. We're going to jump into the world of true crime, where filmmakers bring to life some of the most shocking and disturbing cases that grip the world. We're also going to examine how supernatural beliefs and folklore and urban legends find their way into the horror genre, creating a sense of unease and terror, which they do. And throughout our exploration, we're going to examine the impact of these movies on society as a genre as a whole. Now, there's a lot of controversies surrounding the portrayal of real-life tragedies for entertainment purposes and the ethical considerations that arise from it. And I hope that you're going to gain a deeper understanding of the allure of scary movies based on real stories. They do. These movies tap into our primal fear. They challenge our perception of reality and provide us with a means to explore the darker aspects of the human experience. So brace yourself for a chilling ride and let us begin our exploration into the captivating world of scary movies based on real stories. The movie The Haunting. In the realm of scary movies based on real stories, tales of haunted houses and supernatural phenomena have captivated audiences for decades. These films take inspiration from alleged encounters with spirits and ghosts and demons, blurring the line between the physical and spiritual realms. One iconic movie, no question, I think we have to discuss this, would be the Amityville Horror House. Now, there's a lot of people who debate. Thank you, and thank you for the gifts on the ministry. Thank you. There's a lot of people who debate about the Amityville Horror. I personally do believe, and I spoke to Lorraine Warren about the Amityville Horror. Now, Lorraine was absolutely 1,000,000% convinced that when they got involved, the activity was violent. She was you could not convince her otherwise at all. And I knew Lorraine, I didn't know Ed, but she was, when I talked to her several times about the Amityville, you couldn't say, okay, here's $1 million. Now go on live on television, say it was fake. She wouldn't have done it because she was 1,000,000% for what she saw. She was 1,000,000% absolutely convinced that there was something there. Now, she was actually there when one of the priests was there to bless it. Well, actually perform the minor rite of exorcism, and we ran out of the home. He completely ran out of the home. I believe there is a belief going around that George Lutz was very involved in the occult, some dark stuff, and apparently, from my understanding of talking to several people who are in the know or whatever, they have told me that the activity became very violent once George began delving deeper and deeper into the occult practices. That they had activity based on the horrible, events that took place prior to the Lutzes taking ownership of the home. Most of you know the story. And they had activity, but it wasn't extremely violent until George began allegedly practicing dark magic. Thank you very much, Chris. And so once that occurred, then the activity became very violent and very aggressive. So for those of you who don't know, Amityville Horror is released in 1979. And it's based on Jay Anson's book of the same name. The film tells the story of the Lutz family who move into a house where a brutal murder took place. And soon after settling in, they experienced terrifying paranormal phenomena, leading them to believe that the house is haunted. Now, the Amityville case was based allegedly on real-life experiences of the Lutz family, who claimed to have encountered malevolent forces during their stay in the infamous Amityville house. Now, they weren't there for that long. There is an argument. There is a belief there. And again, I have to be fair. There is a belief that the Lutz, George wasn't doing well in his business. And because of that, they could not afford the mortgage. So there is an argument. And again, I'm not validating this. I'm just presenting it to you. There is an argument that the whole Amityville thing was created to get them out of their home situation. So they created this belief, that this story about the home having all this activity because they couldn't afford the mortgage. I personally don't believe that. I just don't, because number one, they got the house on a steal. Now, George, his business wasn't doing so great. So there were some money issues. There were some fighting, from my understanding, arguing, a lot of negative energy. But based on what Lorraine said, Lorraine was absolutely convinced based on what she saw, and she saw the priest run out of the home, and he wouldn't come back. He said, "I'm not coming back." There was something there. Now, another notable film series that many of you probably know that draws from real-life paranormal investigation is The Conjuring. That's directed by James Wan. Now, the franchise follows the exploits of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. For those of you who don't know, they were real-life paranormal researchers. Now, again, I did not know Ed. I did know Lorraine. People are going to say whatever they're going to say about Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're just going to thank you for the gifts. Thank you, Ray. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. But here's what I'm going to say about Ed and Lorraine Warren. They investigated so many homes and so many cases that you've never even heard of. Never. They didn't publicize it. They didn't try to make books and TVs off of them, TV movies or documentaries off of. There were a tremendous amount of cases that they worked that they never ever once, people say, exploited. Now, The Conjuring and the Amityville became big stories because of the violent activity that was occurring. So obviously it got a lot of publicity because of it. So I'm going to say this. You can say whatever you think about Ed and Lorraine Warren, but they were pioneers in this field. They were pioneers. They took a lot of heat from a lot of people. They did a tremendous amount of cases, and thank you, and paid with their own money to get to these people's homes. And they put themselves in jeopardy to help these people. And not only that, but I will give Ed huge props. Of course, he's resting in heaven now. But I will give Ed and Lorraine. There was, I believe it was in Ohio, there was a gentleman who had they were absolutely convinced that there was a possession case. They were 100% convinced. And they were working the case, and they went to the church, and the church would not, they would not agree to an exorcism. Ed presented all the evidence, said, look, there's something here. We need you to agree to an exorcism. The church said no, because they weren't parishioners of the church. And so Ed used his fame, and at that time they were well known. He used his fame, and he had a huge amount of reporters show up in this home. And they did a press release and said, look, we are calling upon the church to help this family. And the church actually helped the family. So you can say whatever you want to about Ed and Lorraine, but they used their fame and their notoriety to help a lot of people. Now, The Conjuring is a very interesting story. If you've never heard of The Conjuring, you need to really check that out. I encourage you. I strongly encourage you to pick up a book, 3 books, okay? And if you really want to know about The Conjuring, the true story, then you need to hear it from one of the individuals who were children who lived in the Conjuring house. And she's a friend of mine, and I love her. She is, I'm telling you, her name is Andrea Perrin. She is, if you ever get a chance to meet Andrea, you'll always remember her. She radiates light. She radiates joy. And when you see her, you're just, I can't say enough. There are no words truly, I think, to express my admiration for Andrea, because she tells the truth and she tells you exactly what she experienced. She lived in the house, so she witnessed the whole thing. So there are 3 books. I please get the books, and I have them. I own them, and they're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. And for those of you who don't know, it's a trilogy set. It's House of Darkness, House of Light. And that's the true story. There's volume 1. And then there's House of Darkness, House of Light, the true story, volume 2. And the House of Darkness, House of Light. I'm good friends with John Javis. And then House of Darkness, House of Light, the true story, volume 3. And her name is Perrin, Perron. Yeah, Lorraine was very religious, very, very religious. So Andrea Perrin. As a matter of fact, Andrea has a show right after mine, right here on KGRADB radio. So, folks, tune in. So anyway, Andrea Perrin, Perron. You can go on Amazon, House of Darkness, House of Light. Okay, make sure you pick those up. And she'll tell you She'll tell you the true story, everything. Now we know, obviously, The Conjuring, as I mentioned, the film starting with The Conjuring in 2013 depicts the couple's encounter, Ed and Lorraine, with various supernatural entities, and have become hugely popular among horror enthusiasts. But of course, understand, Hollywood's going to amplify it a bit. So if you want to know the true story, you got to buy Andrea's books, House of Darkness, House of Light. Andrea Perron, Perron. And again, she's right after the show on kgradb.com. Okay. Now, beyond these well-known examples, there are numerous other movies that are inspired by haunted houses and supernatural encounters. Poltergeist, released in 1982, tells the story of a suburban family terrorized by malevolent spirits in their home. While not directly based on a true story, it draws inspiration from various reported cases of haunted houses and ghostly phenomena. Now, there's a movie called, I certainly will, Suzanne, certainly will. There's a movie called The Entity. That's released. And for those of you on TikTok, I'm going to open up the chat for everybody. So if you have questions about demonology and paranormal at 8 p.m. Eastern, I'll open it up to everybody. Thank you, Chad. So The Entity, released in 1982, is another notable film in this subgenre. It's based on the real-life experiences of Doris Bither, who claimed to have been, I got to be careful because sometimes you can get banned, who assaulted by an unknown supernatural entity in her home by an incubus and succubus. An incubus is a demonic entity that will attack you on the females on a sexual nature, and a succubus will attack a male on a sexual nature. It's very violent. I have worked incubus and succubus cases. They are very violent. And I'll if you have questions, I'll answer those questions at the top of the hour about the case. I'll be happy to talk to you about them. The movie explores the psychological and physical torment that she endured, raising questions about the nature of the paranormal. And these films and many others tap into our fascination with the unknown and the supernatural. Now, they offer a thrilling blend of suspense, horror, and skepticism. That's fair, as we question whether these alleged hauntings or ghostly encounters could indeed be real. And whether you believe in the paranormal or not, these movies provide us with a chilling glimpse into a world where the line between the living and the dead becomes blurred. And as we continue our exploration of scary movies based on real stories, we're going to venture into the dark and twisted realm of serial killers and psychopaths. And I got to tell you, I have had the opportunity, I should say, of meeting a serial killer. When I was in the Roman seminary, I went with a priest, and we went to a particular prison for prison ministry. I'll never forget this, and I'll never forget him. I'll never in my life. It was very eerie. I can't bring you on. I'm sorry, I can't bring you guys on because I have two different computers running at the same time. They can't, and the folks can't hear or see you. But this guy described his horrific crime as if he was making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And there was no emotion. None. That was eye-opening for me. Okay. So now we're going to delve around to serial killers and psychopaths, the real stories of horror stories of real-life events. So these films draw inspiration from the dark minds of individuals who commit heinous crimes, exploring the psychology behind their actions and the terror they inflict upon the victims. So let's explore some notable ones in the spine-chilling category. One iconic movie that immediately comes to mind is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960. Did you know that Psycho is actually inspired by real-life crimes of the serial killer Ed Gein? And the film tells the story of Norman Bates, a disturbed motel owner with a split personality. Now, Psycho not only revolutionized the horror genre, but also left an indelible mark on a popular culture with its iconic shower scene, becoming one of the most memorable moments in cinematic history. Another chilling film that's based on real-life events, loosely, is The Silence of the Lambs, 1991. That was actually adapted by Thomas Harris's novel. It follows FBI trainee Clarice Starling. as she seeks the help of the incarcerated cannibalistic serial killer, Dr. Hannibal Lecter, to catch another deranged murderer known as Buffalo Bill. The Silence of the Lambs explores the twisted mind of Lecter, played masterfully by Anthony Hopkins, and leaves audiences captivated and disturbed. Now, moving beyond these classics, we have Zodiac, which, by the way, Zodiac is a really phenomenal movie. It was directed by David Fincher, and the film is based on a true story of the Zodiac killer. It's an unidentified serial killer, by the way, who operated in California during the late 1960s and 1970s. Now, there are people who think that they might have an idea of who the Zodiac killer was, but we really don't know. Zodiac meticulously portrays the obsessive hunt for the killer and the impact it has on those involved, highlighting the fear and the paranoia that gripped the community during that time. One other movie that I thought was phenomenal, scary, because it happened, is Monster. If you've not seen that movie, it is bone-chilling. 2003, it's based on the life of a serial killer, Eileen Wuornos. And Charlize Theron, her transformative performance garnered critical acclaim as she portrayed Wuornos. She was a prostitute who murdered several men. And the film delves into the psychological complexities of Wuornos' life and the events that led her down a path of violence. And these films, among others, explore the terrifying realities of psychopathic killers and the havoc they wreak upon society. Yes, some people say they entertain, but also raise questions about the nature of evil, the fragility of the human mind, the motivations beyond these abhorrent acts. Now, it is important to note, I should say, that while these movies are inspired by real events, they often take creative liberties and dramatize certain aspects for narrative, we understand, purposes. But nevertheless, they shed light on the darker side of humanity and force us to confront the unsettling reality that individuals like this exist. Now, again, I also believe that Gacy, the movie Gacy, that was quite intense, really intense. There's another movie out. Let me just find it. I believe. Let me just. Let's see. There is a movie, The Last Victim, and by Jason Moss. So Jason became obsessed. Thank you very much. He became obsessed with serial killers, and he contacted them, and they actually contacted him back. And Gacy was one of them. And he, led Gacy into belief that he actually liked him. And they developed what Gacy thought was a relationship. And it was quite, it's called The Last Victim. And that was pretty intense. What was interesting, here's what was really crazy. This is how much of Gacy was such a master manipulator. He actually told Jason, who wrote the book, I know exactly how you're going to pass away. And it will be by a bullet, by your own hand. And in fact, Jason unalived himself with a gun because he delved so deep into these. He contacted Gacy. He contacted several of these people, and he got deep into psychological trauma because these are master manipulators. These are not people who are your next door neighbor friend. And so if you, again, and of course, yeah, we have to mention the Dahmer. Now, I have talked about this. I've talked about this before. There are people that collect items, and I don't know why they do it. But a family did this, and I've showed this before. A family collected this particular painting, and you can see here. I mean, it's just a simple painting of a lake. And you don't really think about that too much. It's not so much, And here is another picture that they purchased. Now, these are not reprints. These are actual paintings. Okay. And then finally, you'll know this one. And of course, the painter is John Wayne Gacy. They had activity in their home once they brought these into their home, and I had to help them with that. And I said, you got to get rid of these things. You got to send them to me. I will bless them, and then I will teach people about people not collecting these things and stop doing it. And because they had some really violent activity in their home after they did that. And then, of course, this was just recent. This was a gentleman who decided to purchase, and I don't know why, but you can, if these look familiar, it just feels uncomfortable even to, if those look familiar, they should if you watch Dahmer. These are actually one of the original frames. This belonged to Dahmer. There are no lenses in here. And he sold those when he was, obviously, when he was doing his legal defense. And so this is how he made money, so that he could pay for his legal defense. And these are, so it says, "Enjoy my glasses, respectfully yours, Jeff." And I have a letter of authenticity from the person. So they're a very credible individual. Yeah, it's insane that people do this, but they do. And it's quite frightening. So now let's turn our attention to the captivating world of true crime and subgenre of scary movies that draws inspiration from real life crimes and investigations. I'll go a little bit deeper for those of you who don't know about them. One significant film that I mentioned is Zodiac. It's 2007. It's David Fincher. It's based on the true story of Zodiac Killer, an unidentified serial killer who terrorized San Francisco Bay Area in the 60s and 70s. The film meticulously follows the efforts of investigators and journalists in their quest to unmask the killer, captivating the fear and fascination that gripped the community during that time. Now, again, I mentioned Monster. It was filmed in 2003. It tells the story of Eileen Wuornos. She was a prostitute turned serial killer. And again, Charlize Theron did an amazing job. And she actually won her Academy Award for Best Actress, and rightfully so. And it examines the psychological and societal factors that contributed to Wuornos' descent into murder. There's another movie called Memories of Murder. You may not have heard of this before. Memories of Murder. It's a 2003 film. It's a South Korean film based on a true story of Haesong serial murders that occurred in the 1980s. Directed by Bong Joon-ho, the film explores the investigations and the toll it takes on the detectives involved as they grapple with the elusive killer and their own limitations. Again, Memories of Murder, 2003. There's another movie, it was 1968, called The Boston Strangler. It chronicles the case of notorious serial killer Albert DeSalvo, who terrorized Boston in the early 1960s. So the film delves into the investigation led by Detective John Bottomley and the psychological tension surrounding the pursuit of the killer. And these films, among others, offer a very chilling and thought-provoking exploration of the human capacity for violence. I think they capture a public's fascination with true crime stories, which often become cultural phenomena, captivating audiences and leaving a lasting impact. One of my favorite TV shows, because I love learning and studying psychology, is Deadly Women. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but Deadly Women is very intense. I think probably one of the best true crime recreation stories. It is phenomenal. Candice DeLong, she's an FBI profiler. She is one of the hosts. If you've not seen Deadly Women, and if you're interested in this, I encourage you to check it out. One of the best. And it really is. It's important to approach true crime films and shows with a critical lens, recognizing that they are drama, they're drama and real life events. They may take creative liberties. However, they also serve as a platform for raising awareness about the victims and the investigation process. So let's talk about now the supernatural, the realm of the supernatural and folklore. Okay, let's explore the captivating of supernatural tales and folklore as a subgenre of scary movies that draws inspirations from myths, legends, and paranormal beliefs. And the films actually delve into the realms of the unknown, blurring the boundaries between reality and the supernatural. And they really do. They tap into our fascination with the unexplained. So let's talk about a couple of them. One of them is one iconic film that comes to mind, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. 2005 film. I absolutely, I have the case file of Emily Rose, of Annalise Michel is her name. I have sound bites, and I absolutely am convinced that Annalise Michel was possessed. I just believe she's based on a true story of Annalise Michel. The film explores the horrifying ordeal of a young woman believed to be possessed by demons. It delves into the legal and spiritual battle that ensued as her possession was subjected to both medical and religious scrutiny. I've talked about her case before, and it's just unbelievable. As a matter of fact, let's just do it. Hang tight with me. No, hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to play a soundbite that actually is a legitimate, a real soundbite of one of the exorcism sessions of Annalise Michel. Now I know that this is a trigger for some people, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to when I give a thumbs up, that means I've turned it off. Okay, so just be aware that I'm going to be playing it in just a second, because some people can't take it. So, okay. So, all right. So I'm going to play it in 5 seconds. I'll give it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then again, I will give a thumbs up. And when I do that, that means it's over. All right. So I'm going to play it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, this is an actual legitimate soundbite of Annalise Michel's one of her sessions.
Gib das Zeichen des Sprich das Zeichen zum Ausfahren. Des Heiligen Geistes. Das Zeichen zu geben.
Okay, so, all right, there we go. So we, again, I just want to make sure everybody knows that there was a sound engineer who works in the movie industry, and he was able to capture 32 pitches. 32. Now, some people say it's 37. It doesn't matter. Once you get past 3 pitches at the same time, that's superhuman. Superhuman. So a sound engineer who, 32 pitches at the same time. There's a Tibetan monk who's trained his voice for vocalizations, for chanting, and he can do 3 at the same time. That was 32 that we know of for a fact. Now, but like I said, 37, 32. I mean, come on. So there's another movie, The Blair Witch Project, 1999. Now, this found footage horror film follows a group of filmmakers who venture into the woods to document the legend of the Blair Witch, and as they become lost, encounter inexplicable phenomena. The line between reality and fiction becomes increasingly blurred. The Blair Witch Project, it popularized the found footage subgenre and captured the imagination of audiences with its unique and immersive storytelling that's based on not true stories or true events, but storytelling and myth and things of this nature. Pan's Labyrinth, 2006. The dark fantasy film combines elements of supernatural creatures and folklore set against the backdrop of the Spanish Civil War. It tells the story of a young girl who escapes into a mythical labyrinth to cope with harsh realities of surroundings. Obviously not based on a true story, only the Civil War. Crimson Peak, 2015. It's a gothic romance with supernatural elements set in a decaying mansion haunted by vengeful spirits. The film draws inspiration from classic literature and ghost stories, creating a visual, stunning, and atmospheric tale of love, secrets, and the supernatural. So it's a power of folklore that they incorporate this. Now, there are a lot of psychological horror movies, and I want to talk about those. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, inspired by real-life serial Ed Gein. This film follows a group of friends who encounter a family of cannibals while on a road trip. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a classic horror film that was released in 1974, the original. It follows a group of friends. Again, they have cannibalistic psychopaths. The film is known for its intense and graphic violence, as well as its gritty and realistic portrayal of horror. Obviously, Ed Gein, that was pretty crazy what he did. The Exorcism of Emily Rose that I've played about. She was actually 68 pounds when she passed away. Her official death was malnutrition, dehydration. And because her family decided to stop all medicine, and so did she, because they said it wasn't working. So now, obviously, critics praised the performance of the actors and the actress, and they did a fantastic job. The Amityville Horror, we talked about that earlier. If you have not watched it, I encourage you if you're interested. Now, it's interesting because the people who own the Amityville house now, and even previously, said that they've not experienced anything. And they left. By the way, the Lutz family left that home just after 28 days of living there. So there's a lot of things. There's a Wolf Creek, the movie. I don't know if you've seen that. Wolf Creek. It's a 2005, inspired by real-life Australian serial killer Ivan Milat. I didn't know this until I studied a little bit more about it, but it's actually a real-life serial killer in Australia. So the film follows a group of backpackers who become the targets of a sadistic killer while on a road trip. And Wolf Creek is a horror film released in 2005. And the film is known for its intense and brutal scenes. And it's loosely based on true events. So, and of course, it has a sequel, Wolf Creek 2, in 2013, and even a television series, Wolf Creek, in 2016. Now, here's what's interesting. People are going to go, huh? Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, though not entirely based on true events. Okay. But it drew, actually, the movie drew inspiration from a newspaper article about a series of mysterious deaths that occurred during the Laotian refugees who were suffering from disturbing nightmares. And the movie actually takes inspiration from these real life events. It's not, obviously, it's important to remember that they're fictionalized versions, but A Nightmare on Elm Street is a classic horror film directed by Wes Craven. It was released in 1984 and follows a group of teenagers who are being stalked and killed in their dreams by Freddy Krueger, a serial killer with a burnt face and glove and arm, razor blades, etc. But it's loosely based on this Laotian refugees. They were suffering from disturbing nightmares. Horror movies based on real life events have always been a topic of discussion and debate. And so while these films have the potential to entertain and frighten and educate audiences, they can raise ethical concerns and face controversies. So a lot of people argue, well, they don't like it because it sensationalizes tragedy. And one of the main controversies surrounding these films is the concern that they exploit the real life events that are based for entertainment purposes. And so critics argue that this can be disrespectful to the families of victims. Also, it creates fear. Some people say these movies create fear and anxiety. Horror movies based on real life events depict violence, trauma, and terror. And while some audiences love that adrenaline rush, these movies can exacerbate those fears and anxieties, and especially for those directly impacted by real events. Some people say it generates public interest. Well, these films often spark public interest and discourse, leading to an increased awareness and discussion about the real life events, which they do. And I believe that, as long as they're done correctly and respectfully to the people who are involved, and if those people, want their stories told, you have to take that in consideration too. And sometimes the release of horror movies based on real life events can lead to legal battles. These disputes may arise from like defamation, invasion of privacy, copyright infringement, and many times they distort facts. But we know that because Hollywood's going to do this. There's another, people also say that these horror movies are not good because it can inspire copycat behavior. So some argue that these movies can inspire copycat behavior, especially if they glamorize or romanticize the actions of real life perpetrators, such as serial killers, which that's kind of scary. But, on the flip side, some proponents argue that horror movies based on real life events can foster empathy and understanding by visualizing the horrors faced by others. Some people say that films can raise awareness and prompt discussions about societal issues and have conversations like we're having now. Horror movies, I think, based on real life events, they have a significant impact on both individuals and society as a whole. Now, they can provide entertainment to some and provoke discussions, and controversies surrounding their ethical implications can't be ignored. But filmmakers and audiences need to strike a balance, a healthy balance between entertainment value and sensitivity toward the real life events they depict. And if you become obsessed or find yourself becoming obsessed with these horror movies that are based on real life events, that's when you need to take a step back. Because you got to be real careful, because evil can absolutely manipulate that. Just like Jason Moss. Jason Moss, for those of you who are just tuning in, remember he was really got deep into serial killers, and he began to speak with them and interact with them and call them. And even he actually met John Wayne Gacy. He went to the prison and met him. Now, allegedly, Jason claims that John Wayne Gacy tried to do something to him, but the people at the prison said no, that wasn't. He didn't. But anyway, that's what Jason said in his book. I have read the book, and it's a really good. It's called The Last Victim. Jason by Jason Moss, and of course Jason's no longer here with us because he got so deeply embedded and became obsessed with these serial killers that he had no exit plan, because these people are master manipulators. And certainly, so if you have not read the book, check it out. I think you would really enjoy it if you're interested in the psychological aspects of these type of movies. Okay, so I'm going to open the chat up to everybody, as I promised that I would, and go into any of your discussions that you might have, any questions that you guys might have. And I do have articles that I really, really like that I want to talk about as well. But if you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you very much for the gifts on TikTok. I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay. Do you know, and I'm sure I probably missed a fair share. Of course, The Exorcist, the movie The Exorcist, but I talked about that. Did I miss any movies that are allegedly based on real stories, real life events, the horror movies? I'm sure I did, because there's so many out there. There's so many out there. So if you know of a horror movie that's loosely based on real life events, let us know. Yeah, I mentioned Conjuring, Annabelle, that's true. Yeah. Jeffrey, I talked to Lorraine about, I did Poltergeist. I talked to Lorraine about Annabelle. She did not like Annabelle at all. Um, she hated Annabelle and didn't want to be around her. Annabelle actually is a Raggedy Ann doll, and it's not and they couldn't do that obviously because they didn't own the copyrights. The movie producers, they didn't own the copyrights of the Raggedy Ann doll, so they couldn't show the actual doll in the movie. So that's what it is. It's Raggedy Ann doll. The right, the right is the right is that's a good one, Chrissy. Actually, I had the opportunity. Actually, I did have I had Andrea on my show once, and you know what? We should do that again. We should do that again if she has time. Bring her on, and so she can discuss The Conjuring. She did before, but it's been a while, so maybe Mr. Producer's behind the scenes. Maybe we can see if Andrea wants to jump on again, and I'd love to have her as a guest. She's a great person. She's wonderful. So yeah, the right. I had the opportunity to speak with Father Gary Thomas. Father Gary Thomas is a Roman Catholic priest. I had him on the show actually, and he actually talked about the right, the movie, his experience. And if I can find that show, I would love to play it again. But the right is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The Nun movies, yeah, I saw the first one and I thought, Jeepers Creepers is loosely based on true events. Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Wow. I might have to find that out. How can Scream also? Yeah, Scream is loosely based on. That's right. Okay. The Ring. Okay. Mr. James owns the scariest picture I've ever seen in my entire life. That horned being. That horn being. I don't understand what that means, Moonsar. Yeah, Kirsty is asking this. Thank you there, Tiny, for subscribing. Is it Kirsty? Kirsty is asking about what are my views on Hollywood using real demon names in movies. I'm not a fan of that because that's a form of invocation. And I'm not a big fan of doing that. Now, thank you very much. I am really not a fan of the chanting because I've seen some horror movies where they did some chanting demon names and conjuring the demon names, and that is a big, huge no. That I won't watch those type of movies. I think those movies that's stupid. Participating in any type of movie that purposely conjures up demons by invocation is something that should not ever be done, and you should never watch movies like that. So I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah, Evil Dead. That's right. The movie Evil Dead was one of them. I just don't agree to that. I just think it's a bad idea because here's why. I had a case actually. I had a case that was on the Legion of Exorcists show that I was a cast member on, and the case was she was a young girl at the time, and she was being bullied, and really bullied in school by some nasty. It was terrible what she was going through, but she had gone online and she read about the Lesser Key of Solomon. And these websites and YouTube and people were saying, "Oh, it's not a big deal. It's just you can summon them as long as you have this, as long as you have that," and that's what they were doing. So they were just basically letting somebody who had no training in demonology, none, was going on social media and on websites, etc., saying, "Oh, it's okay as long as you have the sigil of the demon, and you close it out and all this other nonsense. You can summon these demons; they'll do your bidding." And you can get even. Well, that's what she did, because she was really picked on, and so she used the Ouija board, and she did for the sole purpose of summoning demons, because she wanted these demons to attack the people that were. Thank you very much, Rod, that were picking on her. And she, I mean, it was yes, she believed that she received results. But unfortunately for her, she also was the victim of that demonic, because the victim, the demon does your bidding, and it's going to come, for the payment. And the payment is you, because you've given the invitation. And she became possessed. And that was the case where I saw a form of levitation that I'll never, and even her eyes going solid black to where it was like a mirror. So I saw my reflection. But when she levitated, like I've talked about this before, she was lying like this on the bed, and it was like someone had put a rope around her torso and just pushed her up, so her feet were here, her head was here, and I heard the crack of her back, and I actually thought that, oh my gosh, she broke her back. I mean, it was a loud crack, but she just like this, effortless. I mean, it was effortless. There was no. You could tell that there was no way she could fake that. It was just simple, smooth. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. And that all started with the belief of the Lesser Key of Solomon, that you can summon demons and they'll do your bidding for you. Very, very bad idea. Yeah. Psycho and the Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, we talked about that. That's loosely based on Ed Gein. Yeah. Ed Gein was a very deranged individual, very deranged. And yeah. X-ray with a beast with horns. When you invert the color, it was that you're actually talking about the Sally house. So Monsar is asking, you have a picture that almost looks like an X-ray with a beast with horns, and when you invert the color, it was during it was one of your investigations. Yeah, that was the Sally house. And the Sally house is in Kansas. And I don't know if I have that readily available, because I wasn't. Let me see if I can look and find it quickly. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it. But I can do a presentation one day on the Sally house. But the Sally house, this was where one of the investigators was on the second floor. And he then started screaming because he had a cross on his chest, a little cross necklace. And he was screaming because he received third-degree burns. The actual cross embedded into his skin. So when he pulled the cross skin, he was pulling skin. And to this day, he has that huge scar where the crucifix was, or where his cross was. And that was at the Sally house. Yeah, the Sally house is definitely not a place here it is. So this is a picture that was taken at the Sally house. This, we haven't, I mean, we're the only team in the entire world that has captured this picture. Now, what you're going to see is on the second floor of the Sally house, there is a kind of like a balcony, if you will. It's not really a balcony. It's a window, and there's nothing there. There's no one could stand. There's no balcony to stand on. It's just a drop off. So what you see here, you see this creature there, and then there's two people. There's two investigators. There's one, and then there's another one. You can't really see it because obviously it's the picture. But then what we did is we were able to use some pretty expensive software to colorize it, because this was the negative that we captured. That was the negative. And then we were able to use, thank you there, Melanie. We were able to use this with color. Isn't that crazy? And that was at the Sally house. And that was the day where one of the investigators actually had the third-degree burn. And that was, that was terrible. That was terrible. And like I said, even to this day, the scar is there. The scar will be there. Uh, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's 100% true. Yeah, we captured that. So that belongs to our team. Um, and yeah, that was pretty crazy. The Pope's Exorcist, Justin. I didn't mind the beginning. I didn't mind the end, but I absolutely hated I'm sorry. I didn't mind the beginning and the middle, but I absolutely hated the end. I just how much is a cleansing? I don't charge. Never have in over 2 decades. So I don't charge. I don't receive stipend. I don't receive salary. So for those people are asking, well, why do you receive donations? Why do you have an online store? Because I have to get to people's homes, and I have to find a way to get there, unless I win the lottery, which I haven't done yet. So that's why. So yeah, I do. By the way, for those of you who don't know, I do have an online store. There is a Benedictine bracelet. This was mine. This one's mine here. And I will bless those for free, of course. That's the Benedictine medal. And then here is my Benedictine necklace. And there's the front and there is the back. And this one is mine. And I love this one. I love both of them. Saint Benedict is the patron saint for exorcists. So a lot of people like to purchase that. So anyway, you can just go to bishopjameslong.com, bishopjameslong, LONG.com, click on the store link. And I don't have St. Michael's necklace. No. I've been looking for some, but the problem is I buy them out of my own pocket. And then because otherwise, if I get it from third world country, China or Thailand or Vietnam, or if it's shipped in from another country, it could take forever. So what I do is I buy them, and then I have a stock, and I have to be careful about how much I buy, because if they don't sell, then I'm stuck with necklaces that I can't obviously get rid of, and that's a loss. So I have to be careful about that. So yeah, with bishopjameslong.com. I don't have anything with Padre Pio now. Yeah, just go to bishopjameslong.com, click on the store link. Okay. And no, the necklace does not open. What about the premise that church members can be possessed during an exorcism? Actually, they can. And when you're performing an exorcism, it's quite dangerous to be involved in performing the rite. So you have to. Well, thank you very much. I don't want to be here. You have to be. That's why there's no such thing as a bystander. I will ship to Canada, but you have to let me know how much it costs, because obviously the shipping. I pay for the shipping in the United States, but in the Canada, obviously if it's, I don't know how much it is for the bracelet, but if it's $20 to ship to Canada, I wouldn't be able to do that. But that's why there's no such thing as a bystander during an exorcism. There just isn't. And so we have to be careful. That's why I'll never, ever perform an exorcism on camera. Number one, because it's vulgar and it's sacrilegious. And you should never do it, ever, because it's someone suffering. But there's no such thing as a bystander, because every person who's present is praying. They're actively engaged. But we also know that, we're in the presence of something that's very old, that's wise, that's very cunning, and that wants to destroy. Sure. Well, I mean, I understand. Look, I understand the movie, The Rite, the movie, The Rite. Father Gary Thomas, I talked to him about that. He witnessed it firsthand. So, yeah, that's why I love the movie, The Rite, because it gives you a perspective of what exorcists go through. Now, not all exorcists go through it, but in this particular case, they did. And so I tried to watch Evil, but I just couldn't get into it. So Conjuring 2 in England. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't watch a lot of the scary movies because a lot of them are junk. And to be honest with you, I don't have a whole lot of time to watch these movies. So if I watch a movie, it's because I'm like, okay, I want to talk to you guys about it. But I don't have... Most horror movies these days are just junk, Well, through prayer. Sonny's asking, how do priests protect themselves? Through prayer. So there's a ritual. Obviously, there's a 2-week preparation prior to performing the solemn rite of exorcism. But we also understand that you're going into battle. So the intellect and will of the exorcist and the intellect and will of the demonic are at battle. And you have to understand. That's why I'm very strict about who I work with. Because there's a lot of people who like to play exorcists and they like to play demonologists so that they can become famous in the paranormal. And they cut corners. They cut corners on everything, on their training, their education, everything. People who cut corners and who are involved in this type of ministry, they make a mockery of it. And to me, that's blasphemy. So it should not be done. You should never, ever cut corners and be involved in this ministry. You just shouldn't. Nefarious is a great movie. What feeling you faced during The Exorcist? Well, the first time, my first exorcism, it was on, and they showed it on the Legion of Exorcists show, the Eli Roth Legion of Exorcists show on the Travel Channel. They showed it was where I looked into the eyes of the possessed girl, and actually I wasn't a bishop then. That was my first exorcism, and I was the secondary. I wasn't the primary exorcist, meaning I wasn't the primary exorcist. I was the assistant. And I remember lifting the eyelids. She suffered from transient possession. Transient possession is when the demonic will enter the body and leave at will. Perfect possession is when the person is in a constant stage of possession. So I remember lifting the eyelids during the rite, and the eyes were solid black. There were no whites at all. And but I could see my reflection. It was like a mirror. I could see my own eyes looking into this creature, to this thing. And I remember I was completely catatonic. I couldn't think. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. I was completely catatonic. And that was a very interesting. I say interesting because I've never felt that type of vulnerability before. I didn't particularly like it. But when you're in the presence of a demonic entity, you don't have to guess. You don't need a psychic or medium to tell you that there's a demon there. You know. And there's a lot of things that the demonic can do to try to intimidate you. And those are all parlor tricks. They're just to try to frighten you, to scare you, to stop the rite. And you keep going. You don't give in to that fear. And a lot of people tell me, I don't know. There's no way I could do it. I was talking to my friend Judy Ann. She was like, she takes pictures of bears only 50 feet away. Now I would run away and scream like a little boy. But I have no problem going against demonic entities, but taking pictures of big old grizzly bears that are 50 feet away. No, that are looking at me like I'm their lunch. No, I don't think so. So the worst experience. Well, Claire, the deliverance. Yeah, he performed the deliverance. I would say emotionally, I've talked about this before. The worst experience was she was 68 years old, and this was an incubus case, and it was very violent. When I was contacted by the doctor and the family because she was in the hospital, and I got to be careful about. I understand the questions, guys, but I'm answering a question, so I'm not going to just not answer a question to answer another question. So just hang tight with me. But she required stitches in her in both. Well, you get the point. In both areas of her body, and that was very violent. She described them as bed walkers. They were like the way she told me was like 3 10-pound dogs, and they would walk towards her on the bed. She could feel them. She could feel the imprint, and they would slowly walk towards her and then hold her down and violate her. And it was very aggressive. So I worked with her for 3 years. And the last year of her life, what she told me, the last year of her life, is that she was no longer being assaulted by these things, but she could sometimes feel them. the bed walker. She could, but they wouldn't touch her anymore. And then when she passed away, the family asked me to preside at her funeral. You said something on my website. Okay, I don't know what. It might take, again, folks. If you send me something on the website, I have 13,000 emails. I don't have time. My sister's trying to help me with them, but I just don't have time right now. My day started at 4 a.m. At 4 a.m. Now I sat down here in this chair at 6:45 p.m. My show started at 7 p.m. So that's my life. I just don't have a lot of time. And sometimes when I'm able to walk during a lunch break. So it's a busy. But yeah, that was a rough. She wasn't she wasn't attacked during the hospital. I don't remember her saying anything about that. She did feel the bed walkers. But her daughter was on my show, and her daughter actually came on and talked to everybody about the case, and no one would help her. No one would help her. And it was terrible what she went through. Terrible. Has anyone ever died with you when you're doing a possession? No, I've never had anyone pass away. I have had someone's heart rate quite elevated, and we had to pause for a moment. So when I have performed an exorcism, I have someone that's actually trained with me who is medically trained. I'm not medically trained. So they will monitor the vitals of the possessed, because the body can only sustain so much trauma. And so we have to be careful about that. Yeah, I tell you, it was a rough one. It was a rough one. Yeah, doctors could not explain. Matter of fact, it was the doctors who asked me to help. And now there is a psychiatrist that I'm working with. There are 2 cases right now that I'm working on now. And I can't go into specific detail, but I can say it revolves children. And the psychiatrist says, look, this is something that I can't explain. The medication that they have on this particular child, who is becoming very violent, is not showing any type of response to it. And so she said it is scientifically impossible, because the medications that they're giving this child is such a strong tranquilizer that it should be knocking this person out easily. Well, it's doing just the opposite. And so there's no response to any type of psychedelic drug. None. Just literally, 100% just the opposite. That's very common in demonic cases. So, well, no, here's what I do have one on Udemy, but that's just the demonology. I would encourage you that if you want to learn about this, to take my online course at, you can go to bishopjameslong.com and click on the class link. And there you learn angelology, demonology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. So you learn all 4 courses, and it's much, much more affordable than Udemy. So I would encourage you to do that. Now, if you sign up now, you'll have to wait until after the presentation is over so that I could add you, because it's on Facebook. It's a Facebook group, private group, and then once you do that, but you have to follow directions. You have to send me a friend request. If people are signing up, I had one individual I don't have a lot of people signing up because I don't really promote it that much. But a person signed up and they didn't send me. It says very clearly, right on the page, you got to send me a friend request on this account. Otherwise, I can't add you. So you can go bishopjameslong.com, click on the class link. Okay, bishopjameslong.com, click on the class link. Oh, great. I don't know. Michael, I don't understand. Okay, you have a question, Ty? Sure. I don't understand there, Mike. You're right. Why is it that some priests don't believe in demons? I don't know. I don't know why some priests don't believe in demons, considering the fact that Jesus bestowed that type of ministry upon his disciples. So that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, that you can be a priest and not believe in demonic possession. I don't know what Bible they're reading, but I'm really confused about that. So angelology is a study of angels. That's the most generic answer, I guess. Yeah, I don't have a problem with people celebrating Halloween. As a matter of fact, I just did a huge 1 hour presentation. I think it wasn't last week on Halloween, the history of Halloween, and I explained everything about the historical context. So I don't have an issue with people celebrating Halloween. No, you're welcome. I'm an exorcist, and when I was a kid, we celebrated Halloween. So I'm not a devil worshiper. So Ty, if you have a question, you need to ask. How do you overcome the fear? Because I don't have no fear of death. I have no fear of death. And they're parlor tricks. These are no, I don't dress up. These are parlor tricks that demons do to intimidate you. So whether it be, and again, hold on for the questions. Whether it be a manipulation of the room temperature, it can go up. The temperature can go down. There's a term called there's also a thing called throwing a voice. So if you ever go on, this is the best way to explain it. If you go on YouTube, guys, hold on to the questions because I'm trying to answer a question. If you go on YouTube and click on 8D, the number 8D, as in dog, surround sound, and with headphones, if you plug that up and put your headsets in, you'll hear sound that will go all around. Well, that's what a demonic will do. During an exorcism, it will throw its voice. So whether it be screaming or speaking or something, it will throw it to where it's sounding. You'll hear it behind you on this side, and you'll hear it in front of you. And it's very similar to 8D. That's the only way I can describe it. And you have to silence the voice. Actually, in the right, it requires that you must silence the voice. So anyway. No, I don't want to do subs. Well, yeah, just celebrate saints and demons. Yeah, that's right. Do the Vatican have a place for the most severe cases? When you say place, I don't know what you mean. No, how would determine haunts of demons and haunts of demons place? How I determine haunts from demons, haunts from spirits, demons in a place. Yeah, folks, you're going to know the difference between a demonic case. You don't need anyone there telling you that there's a demon that's present. You're going to know. Everything in your body is going to scream at you to turn around and go away. Everything. So there's no. If you've ever worked a demonic case, if everyone's ever worked, everything in your body is saying go away. So there's no guessing involved. Now, what people get confused is about poltergeist versus demonic. Now, actually, I'm not liberal, Michael, but I appreciate the I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, demons do try to break you down, and they do, and because that's all oppression and obsession, and so it does. Okay. No, I bless my home weekly, every single week. I don't. We're not discussing politics in here. There's plenty of social media. There's plenty of social media websites out there right now. I'm not going to add to. I'm not going to add to it. I'm just not. We're going to pray for peace, and we're not getting into politics here. What tied to a property? Well, no, they can't be tied to a property. There's an idea that you can force a demon into, because then you get into the idea that you can trap a demon into a box. No, you can't. You can't trap a demon into a box. So that just. How do you bless your home? There is a prayer called the Epiphany of the Doors, or blessing of the doors, chalking of the doors, and I would encourage you to do that. And Yeah, that's right, Shannon. Yeah, we no politics, no debating. Well, this is just not. We're just not interested in that. It's too negative. A book recommendation. Gosh, yeah. If you want to learn about demonology, I would encourage you to read Father Malachi Martin. He was the chief exorcist of Rome. He's passed now. He left the Roman Catholic Church to be married, but he was a chief exorcist nonetheless. Called Hostage to the Devil. There's also Jason McLeod, McLeod. Jason McLeod. And yeah, they do. They do, Sonny. McLeod. It's called, and I'm telling you, you've got to get those books, guys. They're phenomenal book called Dark Siege. I encourage you. I strongly encourage you to get those books. They are some of the best. You can go to darksiege.com. Voodoo and Catholicism. It's interesting. Someone's asking about voodoo and Catholicism. They have some historical and cultural connections. You see, in some regions, particularly in Haiti, and even parts of West Africa, a fusion of traditional African regions and Catholicism gave rise to syncretic practice known as voodoo. And what that was is a blending. This blending occurred due to the forced conversion of African slaves to Catholicism during the colonization. So in voodoo, Catholic saints are often incorporated into the pantheon of spirits or deities worshipped by practitioners. And these saints they're seen as intermediaries between the humans and the divine, similar to the role that they play in Catholicism. However, it's important to note that voodoo and Catholicism are distinct religious traditions with different beliefs, rituals, and practices. I'm not a big fan of voodoo because of the negativity, and I have worked with people who have practiced black magic and black arts, and so I'm not a fan of that. But for the historical context, perhaps that explains some. You know what, I like the show, The Legion of Exorcists. They did a great job. They really did. They worked hard. The director did a phenomenal job. The actors tried to portray to the best of their ability. So a lot of people liked them. A lot of people liked the show. Oh, hello. Do you have to be religious for that blessing? Which blessing are you referring? Oh, no. Oh, you're talking about the epiphany of the doors. Well, see what depends what you mean by religious. Remember, the Pharisees and the Pharisees, the Sadducees, they were religious, but they were also, Jesus called them hypocrites. I believe so. Yes, Michael. Especially when you're doing dark arts. Yes. If you're having an activity in your home, then what I would encourage you to do is this. No clergy. I'm going to be honest with you. No, we are so inundated with people asking us to help them. We have to validate the claims. So people who are legitimately doing this ministry, like if you come to me and say, look, Bishop Long, I have a violent activity in my home. Can you perform the minor rite of exorcism? Well, I'm going to say, well, perhaps, but I'm also going to say, well, we have to get a team out there to validate the claims, because what we try to do is debunk. That's our goal, is to debunk the active, to explain. Because it's very important. There's a lot of teams out there that immediately want to scream, "Oh, it's demons," and they've never studied demonology a day in their life, other than go to the YouTube video or maybe watch a documentary on Netflix. So, and they're just being a demonologist for the weekend, so they can get a tagline to be famous in the paranormal. So, if someone tells me that they want me to go to their home and perform an exorcism, the minor rite of exorcism, I'm going to say, look, the team's going to have to come out to your home, and we're going to investigate. And we're going to either validate the claims or we're going to explain them away. In either way. And here's what's amazing. There have been people who've gotten furious, really mad and vulgar because a team would go out and they would debunk everything. And the family is so convinced that they have a demon in their home, and yet we would debunk every single thing. And then they get angry and then really vulgar. And so we say, oh, I'm sorry, that we're not playing this game. And a lot of people do this because they think they want to get on television, or they want to tell their story, they want to write a book, or they want to do a movie, or whatever it might be. Well, we're not playing that game. So what we do is we get a team out there that does not take advantage of anybody by putting all your information all over social media. They try to debunk the activity, and these are seasoned investigators. And based on the activity and the evidence they captured, that will depend on whether or not clergy gets involved. And it has to be that way, because I have, how many do I have today? 13,625 emails. And that's in my ministry email. People asking me to go to their home. Well, you can't really see it there. And people asking me to go to their home. Well, I can't go to 13,625 people's homes. So what I do is I get a team. We go out, they investigate, and it determines whether or not somehow I can get to that family's home. So, yeah, I know I can't keep up. And people get mad because I have over 16,000 messages on TikTok. So I do the best I can. I don't get paid for this. This is volunteer. So in between the 4 a.m. when I get up to go to the hospital and then sit here at 6:45 p.m. in the middle of all that craziness, I'm going through my emails trying to answer them. So not asking that. I don't understand. What is it that you're asking me? You have to be specific, because I have a lot of people who are asking questions right now. I've got right now 193 people on Messenger asking me questions. Living Day Saints? No. Well, a lot of people would consider her a mystic. She considers herself a psychic medium. I think there's a lot of people who claim to be psychic mediums who are not. And I think there are a lot of people. I know people who are gifted. I absolutely, 100%. I'm chaplain. 100%. I know there are people who are gifted. But I also know a lot of people who are as gifted as my dog. I don't have a dog, but she passed away, but they're not gifted at all. They do it to make a buck. And so I don't like it. Again, I talked about, so if you're having an issue, here's a couple of things you can do. I've already answered that question. There's Epiphany of the Doors blessing. Google Epiphany of the Doors, blessing of the doors, chalking of the doors. That is a blessing you can do in your home. I also talked extensively just recently about sage. And because when I go to people's homes and apartments, they won't allow me to use the church censer, because it has charcoal. So if a family has a Native American background and they want someone to sage, I'm not going to object to sage. I've already talked about extensively the benefits, the physiological benefits of saging. But I don't use it for New Age purposes at all. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, Jennifer, I wish I could. Can you bless items thrifted yourself? I don't understand. What do you? Can you bless items thrifted yourself? I don't know what that means. You can absolutely pray over it. Yeah, no question. Look, you can pray over anybody. So you can pray over it, and you should. There's nothing wrong with, but there's a difference between praying the solemn rite of exorcism and then praying over someone. So, well, the sage, no. The sage is a sage stick. The censer that we use in the Catholic Church, we use charcoal, and then we have the incense that we put on the charcoal. And so a lot of apartment complexes will not allow you to burn charcoal inside. and so we can't use the censer in many places. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah. If you go to the thrift store, yeah, I would absolutely have. Now, this is my personal. I would have items blessed. If you go to the thrift store, and just have them blessed. If you have a clergy member, bless it, and that just. And if you don't, then you can absolutely ask God to bless this item to remove any type of attachment. But I would have the item blessed. Because a lot of people, as a matter of fact, in one of the cases on the Legion of Exorcists show, the woman, the doll, which I don't have with me because it's in storage right now, but the doll that she bought, she became obsessed with it, obsessed, and I mean that was a crazy story, crazy. So. Well, Jennifer's asking a question. Jennifer's asking a question. Why has it historically been so difficult to get a sanctioned exorcism? Because it needs to be difficult. And I'll tell you why it needs to be difficult, because you're dealing with a human being who's going through extreme trauma on a psychological level and on a physical level and a spiritual level. They are being attacked violently. And so when a person becomes possessed, the body has sustained so much trauma that it's in a very vulnerable state. And so, number one, you need to rule out psychological issues, because if you perform an exorcism on someone with dissociative identity disorder, you create another identity. If you have performed an exorcism on someone who's paranoid schizophrenic, you can put them in a manic state. So anybody who performs exorcisms on people without having a psychological evaluation is really doing just a terrible disservice to the individual. You have to rule these things out. Not only that, but you have to look at the medications and the history of the individual. So this takes time to validate this, to determine, well, is this medication causing hallucination or that? There's so much that goes on behind the scenes before you even consider performing an exorcism. And not only that, but then you have a demonologist who goes out and investigates and determine if actually an exorcism is even warranted. So when you cross your T's and dot your I's, it should take time. The people who do it on the drop of a dime and then charge you $5,000, they're going to end up killing somebody. So this is how serious this gets. So it should take time. And there's a process, and there's a reason why, whether or not you like the Roman Catholic Church or not, they're the ones who actually wrote the first rite, the first form, the rite of exorcism in 1614. And actually, the first mention of exorcist as an office was written by Pope Cornelius in 253. So they have 2,000 years of church history behind them, under their belt. And so, yeah, it does need to be sanctioned, and it needs to be you have to follow the protocol, because I would never want someone who just immediately says, oh, that person is possessed and I'm going to perform an exorcism, it's $5,000. What are you talking about? No, I wouldn't want someone to do that to my family. Oh, I know, Bill. Yeah. Dude, yeah, demons absolutely fear. They fear God. No. See, people are getting religious confused with and there's a term called spiritual. Remember, even Jesus, there were religious people in Jesus's time who actually crucified him. So just because someone claims to be religious, well, there's a lot of people can claim to be religious. So, but when someone's asking, can only a religious person be possessed? No. I've actually had cases where I had a couple atheists that were possessed. They did some things that, because they were mocking it. They were making fun of the whole exorcism and possession and demon thing, and they were thinking it was just, it's silly, it's nonsense. So they began invoking demons and saying, see, there's nothing going to happen. There's nothing going to happen. And they invoked some heavy names there. And they began doing some black magic just as a form of mockery. And they got a response. So, yeah. Okay. I'm not for sure, Kirsty. I don't know. You're right. Solomon, it was the wisest king, but Solomon's problem. Now there's the term the lesser key of Solomon. Oh yeah, the atheist did convert. Yeah. The lesser key of Solomon, that's that's folklore. It's that Solomon, although wise and was King David's son, he did so, and he even admitted, he even said in his writings that the mistake that he made was to invoke these demons. So that the alleged story was that he had these demons forcing them to create or to build temples to all his pagan wives and the deities. And so a lot of people think that you can do the lesser key of Solomon and you can summon these demons. Well, people do that because they think then the demons are going to do their bidding. Well, okay, they may do your bidding, but they're going to come for and asking for a price, and the price is you. Oh, well, thank you there, user 576. Okay, let me just say this because people ask me about psychic mediums. So here, I've done lots of presentations on this, and I've been on record, and I'm going to say this, and I know I'm already going to be condemned to hell by people who are not going to listen. Not Yvette, not the Yersi. But the question was about mediums and psychics. Okay, I know people who are legitimately gifted. There's no ifs, ands, or no doubt about it. I've talked about this before. I used to be a chaplain for a very large metropolitan police department. There was a medium who contacted the police department and said that they had information on a person who had been missing, and they told the police department where they would find the remains of the body. Now, I was there on the scene, and I was there to keep the family from obviously going into the scene because they didn't want any type of contamination for evidence. I saw it. I was there. I can't explain it because I'm not a psychic medium, but I can tell you that where the medium told the police where they find the body, within 5 feet. Within 5 feet, they found the remains of the person who had been, unfortunately unalived. So let me just send so that to me, when I saw that, and people say, well, that was the demon. The demons don't give you peace of mind. Demons, thank you very much for the gifts. Thank you, guys. Demons don't give you peace of mind. Demons take your peace of mind. And the family actually was very religious, and they did not believe in psychic mediums, and they actually condemned psychic mediums. They thought it was the devil. But when that medium told where they could find the remains of their family, they changed their tune immediately because they were able to take the remains and properly bury their loved one. So that's what I'm going to tell you. I saw it. I experienced it, and I'm not a psychic medium, but I can tell you what I saw. And thank you very much for subscribing, guys. Thank you very much I truly appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, what do I think about the boy who said he was reincarnated and told where his body was and who killed him? Reincarnation is a tough one because here's the problem. Here's the problem that I have with reincarnation, and I've talked about this before. The whole purpose, the whole point, I think, of survival, of living this life is to be united with God and my loved ones. That's what I want to do. I want to be united with God. I want to be there with my loved ones. If I get to heaven, why on earth would I want to come back? Why? For what? If the whole point of living is to show love and compassion to people and then eventually get to heaven, if I'm there, why would I leave? That makes no sense to me. That's completely illogical because the goal is to get to heaven. At least for me, it is. And I don't want to leave my loved ones. I want to be there for eternity. And also think about this. I've said this before. Okay, Mr. Producer, thank you. I've said this before. Here's the issue. The point is when you come back, you're not supposed to, you learn from your mistakes so that you don't repeat them. Well, if you don't know what the mistakes that you made were in the previous life, then you're doomed to repeat them in the second life, in the third life, in the fourth life. So that's the problem. That is the issue. Now, could it exist? I'm open-minded. Perhaps maybe God presents that and said, hey, look, heaven is here. or you can go back and you can experience life again. If God says the gates are open, I'm going to say, I'm going in. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I want to get to heaven. So to me, that's the problem. Thank you very much, Gift. Thank you for that. TikTok, I'm going to stay with you guys. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm just letting you guys know. So hang tight with me, TikTok. I got to say goodbye on Facebook and then Twitter and KGRDB Radio. For those of you on Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Because it went too fast. Went way too fast. By the way, next week I will not be here. We will have a show. It's an encore show. I won't be here because next week we have ordinations. I'll be ordaining some folks to the diaconate and to the priesthood. So I won't be here next Friday. So just a heads up on that. I won't also tomorrow. We will not have a tomorrow show. I have issues that I'm dealing with. So tomorrow night, there is no open mic night show tomorrow. Okay. For those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and of course TikTok, but don't go anywhere, TikTok. Remember, I tell you always that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless. And never let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio. God bless. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.